My name's Chris Worstrom. I'm a lieutenant with the Allen Police Department. I was the watch commander on duty May the 6th.
My name's Mark Morrow. I'm a captain for the Allen Fire Department. Matt Madding, Division Chief of Logistics.
Officer David Childers. I'm with the Allen Police Department. I work in the patrol division as a patrol officer.
Jared Inman, Allen Fire Department, driver engineer.
Paul Lopez, I'm a firefighter paramedic for the City of Allen.
My name is Roger Nolan. I'm a firefighter at the rank of captain with the Allen Fire Department.
My name's Greg Grimes. I'm the Assistant Chief of Operations with the Allen Fire Department. I'm also an adjunct instructor with the Alert Program.
My name's Danny Williams, Division Chief here with the Allen Fire Department.
Chase Condor. I was assigned to Engine 2 on the day of the event.
45, we got shots fired at the outlet mall. Received shots fired at the outlet. I got people running. I need everybody I got.
Coming up with language to describe exactly what that was like instantaneously on an initial assessment is going to be challenging. Words like chaotic don't cover it.
So on May 6th, I was actually stepping up as the officer in charge of Engine 2.
I was assigned to Engine 2 and we were assigned to Rescue Task Force. We were on a call down the street. We ended up clearing up from that call and showing up fairly rapidly to the outlets.
Dispatcher, Medic 2. Medic 2, go ahead. We're clear from 920 stock if you want to dispatch us to the outlet malls.
Hi, I'm Courtney Wisenhunt. I'm a 911 dispatcher with the City of Allen. When the calls came flooding in and we got a couple that were actually gunshot victims, I relied on the training of knowing how to tell them, how to pack a wound, if tourniquets needed to be applied. It kind of goes quick, but you rely on your basics, and then I knew how FD and PD integrate.
Captain, he noticed the assignments given from dispatch and he upgraded the assignments and called for a full alarm to come to the outlets.
All units en route to the outlet mall. We've got PD on scene advising multiple victims near Fatburger. We're still trying to gain further information on suspect location.
I was at a funeral for a friend of mine from McKinney Fire Department. Engine 1 checks on scene and then more information starts coming in from the public about gunshot wounds. So then here comes the cavalry. Everybody's coming, right?
So when I arrived on scene, I was one of the first members on scene. When we got there, we could see some casualties on the ground. There were reports of another shooter, so obviously we had a couple things we had to work through. That first person I made contact with, he advised he was shot twice. I was able to cut off his shirt and figure out he had 2 gunshot wounds to his chest and abdomen region. Applied 2 chest seals, both of which looked like they stuck well. He was conscious. I tried to keep him with me, realizing the nature of his injuries. I knew he needed to get out of there quickly. Because we still had an active scene, we couldn't bring any ambulances in at that moment. So I grabbed another officer that was close. I had him pull his patrol car up, and we used that to transport him out of scene to the awaiting medics.
Dispatch notified us immediately that PD was bringing us out a victim.
And the whole crew got their ballistic gear on. It was very shortly after that we received our first patient from law enforcement. This patient also set the stage for what we were dealing with because it gave us a view of the injuries that had impacted on these victims. It was obviously somewhat hectic. People were already leaving the outlets. There was a lot of traffic trying to make their ways through the exit.
At this point in time, we were still unsure as to whether or not there was a second shooter there. Law enforcement started with primary medicine. We were doing tactical combat medicine in one group, while I had another group that was actively searching for this reported second shooter.
Whenever we arrived on scene, we already saw that there was an engine there, and I believe a medic as well, and others coming in pretty quickly. So we actually formulated a few quick RTF teams there, I think 1 and 2.
The situational status of everything, I don't know if we're still shooting. We're starting to get reports of people with gunshot wounds at H&M. Engine 1 helped transfer those patients. Moved a patient into Medic 2. Started going through the alert process, trying to get your unified command set up with your police officers. There was a Fairview police officer that rolled in, told them if they were armed up, ready to go, they could go to H&M.
When we arrived to H&M, obviously a very traumatic scene. Multiple patients, multiple victims. At that point, I knew just that the priority was just trying to relay what we had and what we were going to need.
Law enforcement was very key in survivability of a lot of these victims. They had excellent tourniquet placement and excellent hemorrhage control already in place. We went around to the patients and really fine-tuned, really trying to get that hemorrhage stopped and triage our patients and see who we could transport via patrol car and who needed to go on a medic.
I was trying to get all pertinent information, get it to Roger, get it to the RTFs as much as I could.
Right after they made it to H&M, they started calling out patient priorities and things like that. So Medic 3 did not have police officers, but I asked them if they were secure in their location and the path to it, and they said yes. So we started moving ambulances to them.
I was on Med 3. I was the third medic unit in. When we first initially got there, I called on the radio that I first initially thought there was only 6 patients. It wasn't until I got around the bush that I saw there was a lot more people. Just started a triage in those patients. We got one in the back of the ambulance right away on the stretcher. RTF-1 was able to help me get another patient in the back of the ambulance. We took them straight to MCM.
I've got my ambulances coming. I still don't know how big is big and how bad is bad because we're still finding patients. Chief Williams and Chief Grimes showed up, walked up to command and said, "Hey, what do you need?" I said, "Well, I'm going to need someone to run staging because we got a bunch of equipment coming."
I just stepped back and assisted in staging, helped lining up the incoming apparatus and medical units.
We had McKinney, Plano, Prosper, Princeton, Frisco all came to our aid that day.
I have dispatch's account of what's occurring, but I don't have a police officer telling me, what's moving, what's not moving. We get a cell phone call from Chief Williams to Lieutenant Woostrom, and we figure out they're at Lazy Boy.
Of all of the calls that I looked at and knew that I wasn't going to take, I knew when I saw that one pop up that I was going to take it, because as soon as I got on the phone, we were going to start making things immediately better.
We move our command immediately. It was just like, well, we got to go to them. If they can't come to us, we got to go to them. And Lieutenant Woostrom, I stepped out of the truck and he said, "Man, I'm so glad you're here." I said, "Okay, we'll figure this out."
We were able to strategize and coordinate and maybe most importantly, communicate face to face. And we were able to prioritize things together. The relationship that the police and fire have at the city of Allen is unique. When it's time to knuckle down and go to work, everybody's pulling on the same rope. The initial wave of people, when we consider first responders, both police and fire, was in the hundreds. And as the response gets bigger, it gets significantly more difficult to manage and control. But this is also a great opportunity to talk about what works really well.
The way we do things here makes a huge difference, and the ability to leave ego out of the situation and just to apply the lessons that you've learned, adapt to the situation that you have, and to use the training effectively. The AIRS training, the training that we've had through command that we do here in Allen, the training that we do with PD is absolutely vital.
Active attack and active shooter training began with the Allen Fire Department back in 2018. Lieutenant Darren Whitman from the Allen Police Department approached me, asked me if there was a possibility that we could start conducting joint training for active attack.
So when we first started with what was called Level 1, it was primarily police response, going towards the active shooter, how to handle everything leading up to the shooting of the bad guy. We started doing the AIR training and incorporated us with the fire department and dispatchers.
AIR stands for Active Attack Integrated Response. It's a concepts and principles class that we teach here at the Allen Police Department in conjunction with the Allen Fire Department.
So now we're starting to bridge the gap of responders, where you have a class of law enforcement, EMS, fire personnel, as well as dispatchers in one training.
And it's a way for us to work together to get people that have been wounded in an active attack out of the warm zone and to emergency room.
We started sending Allen Fire personnel and Allen Police personnel to the Active Attack Integrated Response training.
And then when we took that a step further into a scenario that incorporated police, fire, and the dispatchers into a scenario setting, that really helped us hone our skills.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kevin Hoffman. I'm the medical director for the City of Allen Fire Department. We look back, at these events, right? These things that have happened throughout our country. We've been hearing about this for years as a society, right? And so for at least for the past 5 years, this department, the police department, the fire department, has actively trained to respond well. First off, it was a horrific event, right? But when you look back and you review the care that was given and what happened that day, the best thing I think I can say is that every recoverable victim was saved. And a lot of that comes down to the care that was given by the fire department, the police department, the quick response, the quick decision making. If it wasn't for their actions that day and the training they'd received in the past, I don't think we would have been as fortunate.